Yo, 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 welcome back to the Out the Box Show. I'm John Wallace alongside my co-host, Chris Calderera. Chris, what is up, my brother? We missed last week. It was the bye week. The bye weeks aren't just for the two teams that are going to be facing off in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. I mean, podcasters need a break too. But it is good to be back with you on the Out the Box Show.
I agree, John. I'm glad to be back, and like you said, it was a much needed some time off. Football teams do some self scouting during the bye weeks, and so do podcasters. So I think that this episode will show some of that.
I mean, we had our heads in the stat book, like breaking down every sort of play that Nick Saban might run, every sort of scenario in which this game's gonna play out. We even sent in a list of like trick plays that we'd like to see LSU run. Like we've been doing our research. Just because we didn't go live on the camera, and on the spoken word doesn't mean that we haven't been doing research. But we are going to break it all down. Obviously, the biggest game of the year thus far coming this Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Going to be a tough environment. Everybody's talking about it. It's probably the game of the weekend. I know there are some other good games this weekend, but LSU Alabama is, in years past has been called the game of the century. In 2019, LSU did go into Tuscaloosa and get the job done. Not comparing this year's team to 2019, just throwing that out there, right? We're going to break it all down. Packed show for you guys. We could not be more pumped. But before we do all that, I want to give a huge shout out to the Boot Crew Media Network, bootcrewmedia.com, and on social media at Boot Crew Media. They are killing it right now. The content is endless. Saints content, LSU content, Pels just started recently since the last time we recorded. And I know they will definitely have a lot to say on us resting our starters 2 and 3 games into the season. I saw that Zion, I think, was out last night. BI was taking a little rest, 1 or 2 games in. So I'm sure they'll be breaking it down, and I'm sure they will be open to lots of interaction on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or bootcrewmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Boot Crew Media Network. Also, huge shout out to Blaine Loop with Forte Realty. Blaine is the man. Blaine wants to help you find the home of your dreams, sell the old home of your dreams, find the new home of your dreams, find you somewhere to rent, find tenants for your investment property. He does it all in the real estate game. Blaine is a huge LSU fan and a great friend of the Out the Box podcast. Make sure to call or text him at 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. Blaine is the man. Blaine is going to be locked in for this game on Saturday against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Chris, I was telling some people at work this today. I don't have a good feeling. I hate to. I'm normally the eternal optimist around LSU. I normally pick LSU to go undefeated. I normally am, sunshine and rainbows. I don't feel good about this one. I don't like going into Tuscaloosa. I know our offense is good. I know our defense is bad. This is Nick Saban. He's pissed off from last year. He's still pissed off from 2019. I just don't have a good feeling about it. So I want you to either do one of two things. I want you to make me feel better about it, or make me feel justified in feeling the way that I do.
Well, if you want somebody who's going to make you feel better, you got the wrong person on the show. But I will certainly justify your feelings of trepidation for this game. Let's call it that. I don't have a good feeling about this game either. John, a lot of people, I think, have been focusing, a lot of the optimistic LSU fans have been focusing on how good the offense is. And they think that that's going to be the advantage that plays significantly in this contest. But I think what they're refusing to see, or maybe not so much that they're refusing to see, they're just fooling themselves, is that Alabama's offense has the exact same advantage over our defense as our offense has against Alabama's defense. So, I mean, just some raw numbers. I mean, Alabama's the 17th ranked defense in the SEC, or in the country, actually. So I think that they're going to play a little bit better than what people expect. Obviously, we know how bad our defense is. Alabama's offense is not quite as good as our offense, but they're not going to need to be. So I'm with you in that I'm not feeling too good about this one.
obviously the talk is our offense good enough to beat Nick Saban's defense, right? Because we know our defense is going to give up points. The conversation throughout this whole season, and we're going to run down Alabama's schedule, and we're going to talk about who they played, and we're going to talk about who we played. Everybody, there is no secret at all about our defense, right? The on the flip side, Alabama's offense is not what we normally see. It is not a typical Alabama offense, right? Milrow is he does have an arm, but he is not the type of lights out 5-star quarterback that you're used to seeing at Alabama. He is by no means a Tua or a Jalen Hurts. The problem is that our defense hasn't been this bad in a very long time. So am okay. Let's just start here, and we'll go through this. Are we going to win? And if we are going to win, or whether we're going to win or lose, give me your score prediction, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but I don't see LSU winning this one. I think the score is going to be something like 36-42, something like that, somewhere in that range. I think that if LSU was going to win this game, they're going to need to score in excess of 40 points. Because, John, I mean, you kind of alluded to it a little bit just now, what you were saying. Alabama's offense is not as cogent as LSU's offense is. They're more of like a shot type of offense. Like they need big plays, and that's what's going to spark their momentum. They're going to stall a lot. But any offense in the country can find its way against this defense. I'm convinced of that. So I've got the Tide winning and probably about a score.
So I'm going to say something that I feel like is kind of a little bit of an unpopular take. I think this is going to be kind of a lower scoring game. What does Nick Saban do? He does the same thing that Belichick does. He takes away your best attributes. Our best attribute is obviously this is on a large scale, but it's our offense. So he is doing everything he can. He's going to do everything he can to slow the game down, extend drives. He's going to run the heck out of the football. I think this is going to be a game in the 20s. I'm thinking, as much as I would love to send out a prediction that I think LSU is going to win, I can't in good conscience right now going into Tuscaloosa, beating Nick Saban 2 times in a row. We were 7-1 against him in an 8-year span, and I think the last one was like 2019 or whatever. So I just don't see it coming together. I think Tuscaloosa, I've been there multiple times. It's a tough place to go in and win. And I think Nick Saban has been in enough of these games, and Brian Kelly has as well, right? But we'll look at the injury report of our defense. I mean, we're essentially trotting you and I out there to go stop Alabama. I mean, think about that, right? Like when you put it that way, it just makes it a little more ominous, and I know Halloween was this past weekend, but I am still feeling a little bit scared. So my score prediction, I'm going to have, I think LSU's offense is going to move the ball down the field. I think LSU is going to put up some points. There's no denying that our offense is electric. Jaden Daniels is playing great football. He's, we'll get to this as well, but if we are to pull this off, he's kind of back in the Heisman mix. So we'll see how that goes. But I think Alabama's going to win, like 28-24 or something like that. I think the spread as it sits right now is about 3. Is that what you're getting?
Yeah, it's Bama -3.
Yeah, so I think Bama just barely covers. Some people say the 3 points. I think this applies more to the pros, but some people say the 3 points is more of a nod to the home team. I think going to Tuscaloosa on the road is worth more points than that. But like I said, I think Nick Saban is going to extend drives. I think Alabama is going to run the crap out of the ball against our depleted defensive line. Nick Saban is quite aware that Mekhi Wingo, who has been decent this year, but not this huge presence. He knows Mason Smith has not been up to, I guess whether it's unreasonable or not, the expectation that LSU fans had for him for this year. I think they're going to run the ball a lot, and I think it's going to be a back and forth type game, and I think that the last team that has the ball is going to win. But I do not think it's going to be as high scoring as people think.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I mean, I think that you bring. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you because you make a good point. Nick Saban does like to take away what your bread and butter is, and so
He's Belichick. He's literally Belichick, and that's what he does.
Yeah,
Now
I mean,
Belichick's
so
not
if
doing
he,
too well this year, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if he gets a chance to take the air out of the ball, no pun intended, but if he gets a chance to take the air out of the ball and run and take away possessions from LSU, I think he's going to attempt to do it. I think he knows. I think he knows there's a mismatch between his defense and our offense, but there's also a mismatch between his offense and our defense, and I think that he's going to do his best to exploit that.
So looking at Alabama's schedule, they are 7-1. They sit currently at 7-1. They're undefeated in the conference. So this is essentially the SEC West title game, if you will.
Yeah. Well, Ole Miss.
Yeah, sure. But assuming all things stay the same, you might need a little bit of help. But this is it for Bama. If they lose, I'm pretty sure Ole Miss would have the tiebreaker, correct?
So if Bama loses this one, well, I mean, so it would be Bama's first conference loss. So that would kind of put a three-way tie at the top between us, Ole Miss, and Alabama. And then from there, you have to see how all teams finish. I don't think Ole Miss is like way down the line. I don't think Ole Miss has beaten Georgia. They still have Georgia left to play. So then that would, if LSU takes care of business and Alabama takes care of business, we would have the tiebreaker over Alabama.
So all that to say, Alabama's undefeated in the SEC. So that is just another reason that they will be defending what they have, right? Their one out of conference loss was against Texas week 2. Texas, in my opinion, week 1 didn't look all that great. And then they came out in week 2 and beat Alabama. But you look at the teams that Alabama's played in the SEC. They did beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss put up however many 49, 50 points on us. That the final score of that game was 24-10. They beat Mississippi State 40-17. They beat Texas A&M 26-20. Arkansas 24-21, and then they beat Tennessee 2 weeks ago 34-20. So that's also another reason why I think the points is going to be a lot lower in this game as well, because Alabama, they're averaging about 30 a game. But it's against a lot of teams that, I wouldn't consider powerhouses, right? Like their one loss comes against Texas, who is decent this year, but I don't know. I can't shake the feeling that that this is just it's gonna feel like LSU's close, right? Like it's gonna feel like LSU's in the game and close. But at the end of the day, you're in Tuscaloosa, and that's just what I keep going back to. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say about the SEC and Alabama's schedule is that, they're playing these teams who are not up to LSU's standard offensively. Now LSU is below, some of these teams defensively, but I don't know, man. I see them upper 20s. Upper 20s. They average 30 a game. Their average total offense is 367 yards a game. LSU is giving up, I believe, on average 395 yards a game. I think they're going to be in the 400s in total offense. If you look at it on the flip side, LSU's offense is putting up 552 yards a game, which is absolutely insane. Those are almost like video game numbers. Bama's defense is giving up 306 yards a game. So I think LSU, I don't think they're going to quite put up 550. They should be in the 400s as well. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the, I guess, the statistics behind, how each team's offense and defense is uh, moving through their schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, you discussed Alabama. I definitely agree with you in terms of, Alabama's schedule has been a little light this year. Outside of the Texas game, really not a whole lot to show for it. Certainly not anything that they've seen like the LSU offense. That's for certain. But I mean, I also look at LSU's schedule. Who's LSU's best win? I mean, you have Missouri. That's LSU's best win on the season. And yeah, you played a good Florida State team. I don't really know if you can put that on your resume the way you played that game. You got smoked by Ole Miss offensively. You were the only reason you were in that game was because you're so prolific on offense. And John, you pointed out our yards per game and a couple of other offensive stats, and those are phenomenal numbers. I think it's second in school history behind the 2019 team. It's so unfortunate that we have such an offense with such a poor defense. And, blame whoever you want to blame. I don't care if you blame Kelly, Matt House, Ed Ogeron for there's plenty of blame to go around with how bad this defense is. But I just want people I just want it to sink in that you are robbed of a national championship this year and another Heisman Trophy quarterback because your defense is that poor. Like it's keeping LSU from it. Like in a year where there's really no dominant team. I mean, everybody points to Georgia because they're undefeated, but Georgia's far weaker than they were last year. I mean, they've got a different style of offense that they're running. There's really no dominant team. LSU could have been that this year. Unfortunately, we have such a poor defense, and then you add in all the injuries that you've been talking about. I mean, who are we going to be relying on? LaTerrence Welch, Ashton Samps. I mean, have these guys done anything this year that warrants optimism? You look at their PFF grades; they're all poor. Some of them, are graded well on tackling, but if we're talking holistically, coverage, overall defense, they're poor grades. So Milroe's not that great. Yeah, Alabama's had its struggles on offense. You're in Tuscaloosa, like you said, and you're playing against probably one of the worst defenses in the country. They're going to find their way. They're going to find the way, and you're asking the offense to be perfect, and LSU's offense isn't going to be able to be perfect. So I don't like the matchup at all.
Yeah, and I think that kind of what you said. I was kind of like stumbling through because I'm sitting like earlier when I was talking about the points per game, and I'm going down the schedule, and it's like it really hurts that much more to think that because of our defense being that bad, like this was LSU's like year to lose. Like everybody talks about, Moscota mentions all the time about LSU's defense just being good enough, right? Like you have a couple breaks. I think if we play Florida State again, I think it would be a little bit different of a game. I think LSU's offense could hang with Florida State. But the problem is not really the problem. The defense was bad before, but like you said, our secondary is so depleted. I mean, you got Deuce Chestnut, who got tore up against Florida State. You got Zy Alexander out. You got Denver Harris out. I mean, you don't even have the guys that were on your first string on a bad defense in the lineup, right? And then you look at we mentioned the defensive line earlier. Mekhi Wingo, is supposed to be your veteran guy carrying the defensive line. I mean, that's why I kind of think that Bama's gonna run all over us. I really do. And then why you run the football, right? So that you can burn people over the top. And who better to burn over the top than extremely young, inexperienced players like Stamps, Welch, guys like that. It just I don't know. I feel like I just keep going back to the same thing. I was kind of stumbling and mumbling earlier, but it's just kind of defeating. And hopefully I'm just being doom and gloom. Hopefully Jaden Daniels does what he's done all season and proves the doubters, right? Like you look at what Jaden Daniels has done. There was a lot of people that said Jaden Daniels is what he is. He's a fifth year guy. He's been around the college game for a long time. He is what he is. He's he's going to be more of the same from last year. And here's to hoping. I'm drinking water tonight, but I'll raise my water bottle to the idea of him going into Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama like he did last year in Tiger Stadium. So,
that's all
yeah.
you for. And look, like the offense is prolific enough to win you this game. I mean, don't get me wrong. We are a golden corral. Okay. You want to cover Brian Thomas? Well, guess what? We've got the diced potatoes down the aisle. So
love Golden Corral.
that you can spread the ball out to. It really just comes down to the defense. And John, you were like, oh well, maybe I'm just being doom and gloom. I think you're just being realistic, brother. I think you've watched enough of this team to know what's coming. So.
Oh man, it just hurts. So let's talk about Mekhi Wingo for a second. Kind of a weird situation on how he ended up being out of the lineup. Brian Kelly originally had stated that he was going to be out for the season. Then he sends out a tweet or announcement or something that said that he was going to be back when we made the playoffs. And, I'm just sitting there thinking, how are we going to make the playoffs if he's not in the lineup for the rest of the season? What do we know about Mekhi Wingo? What is hurt? We know he had surgery.
Yeah. So Brian Kelly didn't really say. And, before he announced that Mekhi was out for the year, I think that quite a few weeks Kelly had mentioned that Mekhi has been playing hurt. So Mekhi's been playing this season, still banged up from whatever was from the off season. I don't know when this injury happened, but I don't understand. Kelly started the season talking about how he was going to give injury reports and how he's going to start listing players as doubtful or questionable to make sure that there's some transparency there. I don't understand what the point of that is if you're going to tell us the week of the Alabama game. He didn't even tell us on his own, power. He was asked, what's the status of Mekhi? And Brian Kelly goes, oh, yeah, by the way, he's out for the season. What is the point of these stupid injury updates then? Like, I just don't understand. I've got so many issues with what Brian Kelly does. And this theme of like this veil of coach speak. Oh, I'm going to be transparent. And then to not be transparent. Like you said, we don't even know what the injury is. We just know, we don't even know if he's out for the season. Like you mentioned Mekhi tweeted, I'll be back for playoffs. Well, that's not the season. I mean, if you make it to that point, he can come back. But how long is this injury? Where is the injury at? There's no clarification on that. I think the whole thing is just silly. I think just stop doing the injury reports.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. It just seems like, is it gamesmanship? Is that really what this is coming down to? Like, does he think that word doesn't travel? I mean, I'm sure if you dug deep enough on Tiger droppings, you could find what the injury is, right? I mean, like, word travels so fast. It is kind of weird how he's just like, oh, matter of fact, our our guy on the defensive line, our veteran guy, is out for the season, and then you got. It almost reminds me of like, remember in the off season when there was like reports that Brian Kelly and his wife were like getting separated,
yeah.
and it broke the internet and everything, and then his kids were like, hey, they're not splitting up, and it's like, well, who do we believe? Like, why is there like a question as to what's going on? I mean, I don't, like I said, I hope him and his wife stay together forever, but at the same time, it doesn't really affect me at one way or another. It would just be more helpful to not have these questions surrounding like what you're doing, right? Like I said, I don't, it doesn't affect me, and I care, but I don't necessarily care about him and his wife's relationship, right? But yeah, just that it just seems like there's a bunch of uncertainty around his like announcements and like the way he keeps things close to the chest. It doesn't feel like it's like gamesmanship. It just feels almost kind of reckless. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is. And I agree with a lot. I mean, like the wife example, the divorce thing is a good example of like how Brian Kelly operates. I mean, that's just in every phase of his life. It's the gamesmanship and the whole purpose. You know, he announced the injury report to there's no gamesmanship here. You know, it doesn't matter if the other team knows who's injured and who's not. And then you're going to keep things like this close to the vest. It's like, okay, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth here. Like, where are we? Just don't. I would prefer you to just shut up and not say anything. Don't tell me who's injured. Just have me be surprised on Saturday. How about that? I would prefer that over you just like pretending to be transparent and kind of skirting around injuries with me. I don't like that.
Well, how great would it be if Mekhi Wingo was not hurt, didn't have surgery, and he trots out of the locker room on Saturday, and Nick Saban's like, wait a minute, he wasn't supposed to play. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but wouldn't that be something, right? If he's just like, oh, we were faking the whole time. or like all of our defensive backs, like I said, not that would make or break this defense, given that our defensive backs were already weak at the beginning of the season. But I don't know. What if Denver Harris, Zy Alexander, Deuce Chestnut, they all run out there, and this was all just a big ruse by Brian Kelly to trick the old trickster, Mr. Nicholas Saban. So I don't know.
You got us. If that's the case, you got us.
That's just a thought. Just a thought. All right. Let's move on. I want to do a quick little Army segment. I want to get your thoughts on that since that's the last thing we talked about on the show. But before we do that, we're going to clean up the Alabama preview with Workbox. Call Martine at Workbox. Martine is the man. If you need a portable office building, portable restroom rental, luxury restroom rental, dumpster, porta can, you name it, call Workbox. Martine is the man. He's always working. He's always making sure their porta potties are the cleanest. They are guaranteed. Luffy will guarantee that for you. See, I'm turning the ad around on Luffy because I'm the one saying the ad now. Make sure to call Martine at 225-343-4886. All right, Chris, the Army game was an absolute beatdown.
Yeah.
It was a shutout. We beat a team 62-0, and we celebrated them throughout the entire game. The parachute into the stadium, always a classic that always plays. One of the guys, I believe, missed the eye of the tiger. So I was a little worried about that. Like, the first guy landed right on the eye. Second guy, I think he landed on like the 30 or 35. And then the other guy comes in. He was almost in the end zone with the band. Overall, really cool day for LSU. I don't know if you were able to make it out to the game, but I was kind of a last minute addition to go. But overall, cool. But I don't think anything about that game tells us anything about what's going to happen against Alabama. And we kind of knew that going in. I just wanted to see if you had any specific thoughts on the historic LSU Army game.
No, I mean, it happened. I wasn't able to, get out there for all the pageantry that they had planned. It seemed like a nice event, and like we had you alluded to on the podcast the week like leading up to the Army game, we were like, it's really just good to get the fellas out there playing football, before the bye week. That's all the game's really good for, and that's really all it was good for. You headed into the bye week. Unfortunately, you had injuries that happened at the tail end of halves and towards the end of the game that affect you now into this game. So that wasn't great, but that's really all I can speak about on the Army game.
Just wanted to get your thoughts since we talked about it. All right, let's move on to the famous House Always Wins segment presented by the House Bar in Tigerland. Chris, I know you have your picks ready to go. Get on over to the House Bar in Tigerland. It's getting a little chilly outside. I will be the first to say I'm not a fan of the cold weather. I actually got home yesterday from work. 32 degrees was the low, in Baton Rouge, and the heater was out at my house. What should I have done? Gone over to the House Bar in Tigerland, gotten some whiskey to warm me up. Get on over to the House Bar in Tigerland. Winter awesome time to go to the House Bar in Tigerland. You got LSU basketball coming up. You can get over to the bar, eat you a slice of pizza, watch the game, go there. Away games are perfect for the House Bar in Tigerland as well. You can go watch the game there, go get your wristband early, go leave, come back later. You can do whatever you want because the house is your home. Get on over to the House Bar in Tigerland, follow them on social media, and please support the best bar in Tigerland. All right, Chris, which one do you want to start with, college or NFL?
I like college first.
All right. What is your pick
So I
in
love
college this weekend?
Nebraska -3 against Michigan State. Love it. I think that people look at Nebraska, or they probably don't even look at Nebraska anymore. They've probably checked out of Nebraska season, but they're still playing football up there in Lincoln. And I'll tell you what, Michigan State is not a team that I would ever bet on. In fact, I enjoy betting against Michigan State. So I think that Nebraska, despite their record, is a little bit better than what people perceive them to be, and they're playing for a bowl game. I mean, they're still playing for bowl hopes. I think that's a lot of motivation for them. I like them against Michigan State.
All right, I am sticking with the SEC. I am going to take Ole Miss -3 against Texas A&M. I think Ole Miss is kind of the wrench in our LSU talk, right? Because so we say if LSU were to beat Bama, then you'd have this like Spider-Man meme like pointing at who beat who, and it would send us kind of into a circle. I do think it is kind of interesting that Ole Miss put up so many points on us on our defense, and that is kind of telling for the game on Saturday. Ole Miss puts up 10 points against Alabama's defense, and then Ole Miss puts up 50 or whatever against our defense. Another reason why there is cause for concern. But all that to say, we've already doomed and gloomed the LSU faithful on this episode. So if you want to make some money, I believe this is an 11 a.m. game. So you can get your money out of the way early so that you can have more money to put on LSU money line in case me and Chris are wrong. So, all right, let's move on to the NFL. Chris, do you have your NFL pick ready to go?
So, John, I want to say this. I'm not advocating this. If you want to make money, this isn't going to be my pick. But
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to make money, the Bears are +8.5 against the Saints. I mean, come on. I mean, that's the one you just got to pick on. I mean, there's no way the Saints should be that big of a favorite against the Bears. I know the Bears aren't great, but I think there's a lot of positive sentiment over the Colts game, and I don't really see why. I mean, yeah, you won the game, but the Colts aren't great. But if you don't want to fade the Saints, then I do like the Cardinals +8 over the Browns. I think I handed out the Cardinals last time on an 8 spread. They let us down. They lost by 10. But I'm gonna pick them again to beat the Browns, or not to beat the Browns, but to cover the spread against the Browns. But to me, the Saints Bears, that's the play of the week.
Yeah, I get that completely. I do. I just think I hate games like that because this guy Tyson Badgett has in his first game he played pretty well, and he's this Division II just like guy out of nowhere, and then the Saints have shown like I could easily see the Saints like blowing the Bears out or losing this game, right? Yeah. Like, and then 8.5 is just such a weird spread. So I get what you're saying. But I'm not going to do that either because, the Saints are, you can't bet against the Saints and then root for them too. Some people try to justify that. It's like, if you bet against the Saints, you're betting against the Saints, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would never put my money on the Saints. I'm just for our listeners that like to actually make money. That's one that I like. Yeah. And look, Kyler Murray, the Arizona might be the better play because Kyler Murray he's off the injury list, so he might actually be playing. But just throwing the Saints pick out there.
Yes. All right. I think this is a lock. There's actually some really good football games this weekend. You know, you got the London game with the Chiefs and the Dolphins. That over's 51. That could be electric. Wake up early on Sunday morning to watch that. But I'm going Cowboys Eagles over 47.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Jalen Hurts. I think he is kind of playing hurt. But that's going to be a points factory. And I think 47 points is, I think it's kind of low. I thought it would be kind of in the 51 range, like the Chiefs Dolphins game. So that is my NFL pick for the House Always Wins segment this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. LSU-Bama this weekend. It's coming whether you like it or not. Sunday, we are all going to get together, and you're going to get together and watch NFL, and you're going to have to go to work on Monday either way, or whatever you do on Mondays. You're going to have to get up and go about your life regardless of the outcome of the LSU Alabama game. So my advice to the Out the Box faithful would just to just be ready for both outcomes. That is horrible advice, and I hate that I'm saying that, but be ready to deal with the outcome of this game. That's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you guys so much for listening. We cannot thank y'all enough. We thank y'all for listening each and every week, minus last week, because we needed a bye week to get all of our stats together and to rest, right? And to rest. But shout out to all of our great sponsors, Blaine Loop with Forte Realty, Workbox LLC, the House Bar in Tigerland, and the Boot Crew Media Network. And Chris. Nope, I can't do it. I was trying to convince myself to say that LSU is going to win, but I can't. And I hope normally I'm the jinx that forces the opposite to happen, right? So but then again, now that I'm thinking I'm the jinx, then I'm thinking that it's just going to reiterate my point of what they're going to do.
Yeah, you're too deep.
I'm in just like a repeat. I'm in a repeat, rinse and repeat cycle. Like I feel like I'm a washing machine that just keeps spinning and it won't turn off.
Yeah, I admire your effort to try and say that LSU is going to win this game, but I think that your candor and your honesty are greatly appreciated.
Thank you. That means a lot.